And the wife, I should look up their names, right? Maybe do this a little bit of justice. A sprawling, closely guarded complex of faux rustic guest cabinets. Can you imagine? So this is, we have a, yeah, I guess Clear Lake is the town. Yeah, that book totally comes out in April. The date changed. Dang it. Hi everybody, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse. And welcome to what is coming out in the month of March. So I've said it before and I'll say it again. This year is crushing it with the new releases. There's so many books coming out that I cannot even keep like on top of it. I've made a list. I just like double checked. I added more things to my list that I missed the first time around. There's so many books I feel like I've already missed from January and February. It's just crazy. Crazy in a good way, but I feel like my pre-orders are really kind of over the top and like what I want to read. I'm wanting to gobble up all these new books, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I also want to gobble up a whole bunch of older books. So anyway, the struggle is real. The struggle is real, but there's so many great books coming out this month. I've pulled together a list of just a handful from some of my favorite authors, from some new to me, some things that are on my radar. So March is giving us 5 Tuesdays, which means 5 weeks of new releases. And I'm gonna do the thing that I was trying to do, or that I've done so far this year, which is talk about the books in the order of publication. So let's get going. Up first is March 1st. So kicking off March 1st, we have The Night Shift by Alex Finley. And he wrote Every Last Fear, was his debut last year, and I loved it. And I just read The Night Shift because I was lucky enough to get an e-arc of it from NetGalley. And I will talk about it in further detail in my February wrap-up, which will come up after this video. So I'm gonna be fully honest with you guys. I am in the unpopular opinion bucket here. I didn't love this book, but I loved everything about the book before I read it. So I think part of the challenge I had with this book is I feel like it was a little bit not as advertised and therefore not what I wanted. And I had read some people's reviews, non-spoilery, but a lot of people who really focused on the nostalgia of the 90s, which I was totally here for, but we don't really get a lot of 90s timeline in this book. So in this we have two kind of horrible massacres that take place. So the book opens on New Year's Eve, 1999, like Y2K is coming, all the things, the world is all in a bit of a spin. Everyone's convinced at midnight like the whole world is gonna kind of shut down. And we have a group of kids, teenagers, who work at a Blockbuster Video in suburban New Jersey. And that night, 4 people are murdered, 1 person is left for dead. And while there was a suspect, the person was never charged and subsequently got out of Dodge. So no one was ever convicted of that crime. And then we fast forward 15 years, and at an ice cream shop in that same town, 4 teens are murdered, 1 is left for dead and winds up surviving. And the questions start to rise of, is the original killer back? Is there a copycat going on? Are these crimes connected? Are they just coincidence? Like, what on earth is happening? These 2 tragedies in the same town. So I'm here for all of it. We get multiple POVs. So we get survivor from the Blockbuster massacre. We get a guy named Chris, who is the DA, or is ADA? He works in the DA's office. And then we get FBI agent Keller, who was also in Every Last Fear. So I do love the nod to her because I very much enjoyed her as a character in the first book. And we get to see their multiple POVs as they try and connect what's going on, what happened. Like I said, are the cases connected, all the things. So I was here for it, but I wasn't wholly satisfied by it. So again, for one, I attribute this to marketing. I didn't have even a fraction of the 90s vibes that I wanted. There were like a couple winks, the Be Kind Rewind, but I saw people say like, it'll be the nostalgia you had from Survive the Night by Riley Sager, which there was tons of 90s stuff in there because the book was set in the 90s. So we don't really get, even when we sort of flash back to the 90s, it's in someone's memory and it's more of conversations they had versus real, I feel like, cultural touchstones of the time. So I was bummed about that. And then I talk about this in great detail on my Goodreads, which my link to my page and stuff is down below if you guys are interested in reading the full thing. But I had a very hard time connecting with the female characters, and they didn't feel authentic to me, and I just didn't love them. So like, I loved Agent Keller so much in the first book and wanted so much more of her story. And it's not that I disliked her in this, but part of my hitch on this, and I realize I'm doing a review when I shouldn't be, but like, she's supposed to be 8.5 months pregnant with twins, and she's like in the field on the case, like literally running around trying to catch killers, and it just didn't ring authentic to me. So like all these little nuggets just kind of pulled me out of the story. But what I will say is that, again, I seem to be in the minority. There's definitely just like some good, easy, fun times with the book. So I think if you go in with a certain expectation, or you don't have the hangups that I have, you're good to go. But I raved about this one coming out, and I will definitely read whatever else he writes, because I still very much enjoy him as a writer. But one to the other, I enjoyed Every Last Fear so much more. It just felt like a much more fleshed out, well-written story, and much more intricate to me. And unfortunately, this one was not my favorite, but I still want to talk about it because I know a lot of people are anticipating it, and it's coming out in a couple of days. So go for it if it's on your list. The next book I have is called The Club by Ellery Lloyd. So I just snagged this on NetGalley the other day. They have that read now feature, and it's one of those things where like, you really need to stock it, because there are some really good books on there. And sometimes they are there for like a super short period of time. So this is one of those, so I need to jump on it. So she wrote the book People Like Her, which I haven't read yet, but I have. And Lindsay from Lindsay's Little Library read it recently and really enjoyed it. And that one was like a mommy blogger and has some good commentary on social media and influencers. So I'm super curious about it. But this one is a murder mystery, and it says it's set in the secretive world of an exclusive celebrity club where the A-list members and their staff who serve them all have something to hide. So in this book, we have a place called the Home Group, and it's a collection of celebrity member clubs dotted across the globe, from London to Lisbon to Malibu to Manhattan, where the rich and famous can party hard and then crash out in its 5-star suites, far from the prying eyes of fans and the media. So it's the most exclusive and spectacular of them all is Island Home, and it's a sprawling, closely guarded complex with rustic guest cabins, spas, bars, restaurants, and it's just off the English coast. To mark its opening, Home's mercurial CEO Ned Groom and his team have planned a glamorous 3-day launch party, easily the most coveted A-list invite of the year. So this one, we've got the whole behind the scenes with the people who created the club. So we've got the CEO, we've got his trusted PA, we've got the housekeeper, we've got the CEO's younger brother. Everyone's got issues, it's tense. We're behind schedule, we're over budget, there's all sorts of things bubbling from the surface. And it says all of them have something to hide, and that's before the beautiful people with all their own ugly secrets even set foot on the island. Tempers fray, behaviors worsen, and things get more sinister by the hour, and the body count keeps piling up. Yes. Some of the Island Homes members begin to wish they'd never RSVP'd at all. Because at this club, if your name is on the list, you're not getting out. So again, this one just sounds like such delicious fun. I love me an isolated thriller. I love me murder. So it definitely has, again, I feel like a little bit of like the rich people behaving badly, but because we get the people who are building and setting up the club, it's almost like an upstairs downstairs situation and a behind the scenes situation. And murder does not discriminate in this book, it sounds like. So I'm here for it. I'm gonna try and jump on this one on the sooner side of things, so I will keep you guys posted, but it just sounds, again, kind of like frothy and delicious. Okay, let's talk about V.E. Schwab's Gallant. I have pre-ordered this. I am super excited for it. I hemmed and hawed over which cover to buy. I wound up going US here, and we'll see if I wind up going down the the Addie LaRue rabbit hole of like special editions at some point. But this one, the blurb on the top says, everything casts a shadow, even the world we live in. And as with every shadow, there is a place it must touch, a seam where the shadows meet its source. So I am super intrigued. We have secrets. This is young adult, this is fantasy. It's kind of got this gothic sci-fi horror classification to it. I'm not totally sure, but I am just obsessed with her writing, and I'm so curious about this book, and I just needed to know. So in this one, we have a main character named Olivia, and it says she's grown up in Maryland's School for Girls, and all she has of her past is her mother's journal, which seems to unravel into madness. Then a letter invites Olivia to come home to Gallant. Yet when Olivia arrives, no one is expecting her, but she's not about to leave the first place that feels like home. So she has a cousin named Matthew. He's super hostile, and it says she sees half-formed ghouls haunting the hallways. She knows that Gallant is hiding secrets, and she is determined to uncover them. When she crosses a ruined wall at just the right moment, Olivia finds herself in a place that is Gallant, but not. The manor is crumbling, the ghouls are solid, and a mysterious figure rules over all. Now Olivia sees what has unraveled generations of her family and where her father may have come from. Olivia has always wanted to belong somewhere, but will she take her place as a prior, protecting our world against the master of the house, or will she take her place beside him? So this just sounds wonderfully creepy. I am so obsessed with her writing, and this just sounds like a really fun book, so I just needed to have it. I need more of her. I still need to read Vengeful, I know, but I was just really intrigued by this, and I just love the idea of like the shadow world. So I don't know who I am in this moment, but this is who I am in this moment, so we're going for it. I already went for it. I already bought it. It'll be here any day now. March 8th. So the next book I have is Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett, and I actually am waiting for the Libro FM ALC audiobook of this to come out, and it was one of their offers for February, but it wasn't released yet, so I'm edge of my seat because I'm hearing so many great things about it. So this one says, no one bats an eye when a Black reality TV star is found dead in the Bronx, except her estranged half-sister, whose refusal to believe the official story leads her on a dangerous search for the truth. So we have Desiree Pierce was a disgraced reality TV star, and she was found dead on a playground the morning after her 25th birthday. And the police and media are quick to declare this as an overdose. It's a tragedy, certainly, but not a crime. So enter her half-sister Lena Scott, who knows that this absolutely cannot be the case. So Lena is a grad student at Columbia. She spent the past decade forging her own path far from the spotlight of her sister, but some facts about Desiree just couldn't have changed since their childhood. And Desiree would never travel above 125th Street, so why is no one listening to her? So there's some past history that happened between the two sisters, and there's a whole bunch of secrets and lies, I'm gonna guess, and it sounds like a lot of family dark secrets are going on. But Lena is going to look into what actually happened to her sister and prove that, again, this story about her having an overdose is not actually the truth. And it says, but will she end up dead herself? So I've been hearing so many great pre-chatter about this book as well. So I do have Hollywood Homicide by Kelly Garrett. So she wrote 2 books in that series, and then this is a standalone from that. And I don't know, it sounds a little bit darker to me. I feel like Hollywood Homicide is a little bit more on the cozy side of things, and this one definitely sounds a little bit more on the darker side of things, which I love. But I will be reading them both, and I will keep you guys posted. But I'm really excited for this one, and like I said, I've been hearing so much early buzz about it too, so I'm chomping at the bit on this one. Next up is The Golden Couple by Greer Hendricks and Sarah Pekkanen. So I also had an ALC copy of this from Libro FM, and I listened to this one already, and I reviewed this one already. So I will link that down below if you guys are interested. But this to me is what I would call vintage Greer and Sarah a la The Wife Between Us, which was their first book and my favorite. I've read all of their books. And this one to me just sort of had that same tension and mystery and just sort of thrillery aspect and sort of web of lies and connections. And it just had me much more engaged than their in-between 2 books. So this is the 4th book that they've written. And I very much enjoyed just kind of like hunkering down for the ride, because this felt like another ride for me. So in this book, we have Marissa and Matthew Bishop, and they are the golden couple. So they have the perfect marriage and the perfect kid and the perfect life and perfect, which of course, you know, it means it's not perfect. And what we find out early on is that Marissa has cheated on her husband, and she reaches out to a therapist named Avery because she wants to work on their marriage and fix things. And Avery is a bit of a lot of an unconventional therapist. So she had done some stuff in her past and kind of lost her license. So she basically has gone rogue now. And the rules sort of don't apply to her and how she does her therapy. So Marissa and Matthew know this, and they go to her anyway because there was like an article written about her in the paper, so she's very well known. And it becomes a lot of secrets and lies. It becomes a lot of what's going on. It becomes a lot of who can you trust. There is just a lot of crazy town stuff going on in this book. And like I said, I was here for it. So I love the way they sort of connect things. I like the writing. This is definitely sort of unlikable characters doing some unlikable stuff for sure. We get some past and present mystery. Now, I will say, so Avery sort of has kind of her whole situation and backdrop, and she's got like a couple B stories going on. One of them I very much enjoyed. One of them I wasn't wholly in love with, but in the grand scheme of things, I gave this book 4 stars. It was super entertaining. Like I said, it had me. I was gripped to it. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I was having like all the theories and all the things popping in my head, and I just loved it. Again, it was like another frothy, delicious kind of a story, and another rich people behaving badly kind of a story. And I gobbled this stuff up so much. So I totally enjoyed it. And I think if you liked The Wife Between Us, you will enjoy this one. And if you were a little ho-hum on Anonymous Girl, and I'm blanking on the name of their other book, You Are Not Alone, I would definitely still go back to this one, because I feel like this sort of brings them back to their roots, and it's their second strongest book, I would say, in my opinion. So good times, good fun. I very much enjoyed this book. March 15th. Next up is another book that I pre-ordered, and it's 9 Lives by Peter Swanson. The Kind Worth Killing. That's all I have to say. So I have yet to read a book of his that has surpassed that one, but again, I am hearing that this is like by far one of his finest, so fingers crossed. So this is about 9 strangers, and they receive a list in the mail with their names on it. Nothing else, just a list of names. There's no connections between any of them. They don't know each other. They've never met. They all dismiss it as junk mail. And then very, very bad things start to happen to the people on the list. So it says they begin to die in highly unusual circumstances. So FBI agent Jessica Winslow, who is on the list herself, is determined to find out, could there be some dark secret that binds them all together, or is this just the work of a murderous madman? As the mysterious sender stalks these 9 strangers, they find themselves constantly looking over their shoulders, wondering who will be crossed off next. So it definitely has a little bit of a twist on an And Then There Were None kind of a vibe, and I don't need to know really, I didn't even need to know that, so I don't need to know anything more. I know enough. I am super delayed on reading more of his books because I'm trying to read the books that are spoiled in 8 Perfect Murders before I read 8 Perfect Murders, and it's obviously taking me way longer than it needs to. And then I did pick up Every Value Break at the end of the year. I haven't read it yet, but I will. So anyway, I have pre-ordered this from Book Depository because I really liked the cover there, and this is coming out earlier. This actually comes out March 3rd in the UK. And when I get it, I will read it and I will let you guys know what it's all about. But I'm so excited for some more Peter Swanson. All right, next up is Symone St James, The Book of Cold Cases. I have been desperate for new Symone St James since I read Sundown Motel last year, even though I still have some old Symone St James to read. But this one is a true crime blogger. Gets more than she bargained for while interviewing the woman acquitted of 2 cold case slayings. I love me true crime. I love me some blogging. Okay, so this sounds very on brand for Symone St James. We have 2 timelines. We have 1977 and 2017 in Oregon. So back in 1977, this town was shaken by the Lady Killer murders. 2 men, seemingly randomly, were murdered with the same gun, with strange notes left behind. Beth Greer was the perfect suspect, a rich, eccentric 23-year-old woman seen fleeing one of the crimes. But she was acquitted and she retreated to the isolation of her mansion. Yes. And then in 2017, we have a woman named Shay, and it says she's a receptionist, but by night she runs a true crime website, The Book of Cold Cases, a passion fueled by the attempted abduction she escaped as a child. When she meets Beth by chance, she asks her for an interview, and to Shay's surprise, Beth says yes. So they meet regularly at what I'm hoping is a creepy Gothic mansion. And it says, though Shay is never comfortable there, items move when she's not looking, and she could swear she's seen a girl outside the window. The allure of learning the truth about the case from the smart, charming Beth is too much to resist. But even as they grow closer, Shay senses something isn't right. Is she making friends with a manipulative murderer, Or are there other dangers lurking in the darkness of the house? I'm so excited for this. Based on Sundown Motel, I don't think we're going to be dancing a Riley line of thriller versus horror versus ghosty. I am hoping we're going to be square into Ghostland, but I don't know for sure. All I know is that the handful of reviews I have read about from people who have had arcs of this have loved it. And again, based on my single experience with Symone St James, I am super excited for this one. And I love me anything true crime. So I'm here for it. I will be reading it and I will let you guys know. March 22nd. The next book I want to talk about is The Lying Club by Annie Ward. So I actually got a arc of this through NetGalley, and I'm so bummed because it's all messed up. So I couldn't read it. I tried to read it, and this happens every once in a while, I've found with e-arcs, where the literal formatting of the book is like super messed up. So like in the case of this book, you would be halfway down the page. There's no spaces between chapters or anything. So I was like halfway down the page, and then it said like page 11 in the middle, and then it kept going. So the formatting was all shades of wonky. And this is a 430 page book. So if you guys have had e-arcs before, you know that like the pages are weird, where it'll say like what position you're in, which won't equate to pages. But it said that the book was like 2 hours and 30 minutes long in reading time. So there's no way that this is a 432 page e-arc that I got. So I don't know what sort of kerfuffle thing that I got, but anyway, I'm bummed because I wanted to read it early and I can't, but I'll read it eventually. So this is, it says like, for fans of Big Little Lies, love, and Little Fires Everywhere. Haven't read it, but hear good things about it. This one is a tangled web of lies, draws together 3 women, and this is at an elite private school in Colorado. So you know I love me a private school. This is an adult book, even though it takes place at a private school, but it focuses on an office assistant and then the mothers of some of the children. And the moms sound like very much rich people behaving badly, which I also just love. This sounds very kind of soap opera-ish in the best way. It kind of reminds me of like Hunting Wives vibes, kind of that Desperate Housewives is kind of just like delicious, popcorny kind of a fun time. So in this one, we have Natalie, who's the office assistant. We have Brooke, who is the gorgeous heiress, ferociously loving mother and serial cheater, and Asha, an overprotective mom who suspects her husband of having an affair. And all of their fates are bound by the handsome athletic director, Nicholas, whom Natalie loves, Brooke wants, and Asha needs. But when 2 bodies are carried out of the school one morning, it seems the tension between the mothers and daughters, rival lovers, and the haves and have-nots has shattered the surface of this isolated, affluent town where people will stop at nothing to get what they want. So twisty, thrillery, again, like it just sounds deliciously Hunting Wives-ish, and I'm totally here for it. So I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna read it, I will keep you guys posted on it. I'm super bummed I couldn't review it early, but these things happen. March 29th. The next book I want to talk about is The Long Weekend by Gilly McMillan. So this is another isolated thriller, and this we have 3 couples, 2 bodies, 1 secret. So for some reason, this group of husbands and wives decide to go to a place called Dark Fell Barn for a weekend away. Sounds like an isolated weekend retreat. Sounds like good times. Not really. It sounds like the place where people get murdered, but it is the group of friends that are going to go away for the weekend. So for some reason, the husbands wind up getting tied up at work on Friday. So 3 of the wives go out alone together. They're going to have a girls' night out before the husbands show up the next day. So previously they were 8 friends, but one of their friends named Edie, her husband has died recently, so she decides not to come. The other ladies come, and when they arrive at Dark Fell Barn, apparently there's a note there, and it claims that one of their husbands is going to be murdered. But they're in the isolated middle of nowhereness, so their cell phones don't work. There's obviously no other telephone for them because why make it easy on anybody? And it sounds like things start to spiral into madness. So I am totally here for it. I love me some isolated stuff. I love me some dark friend things. I like some past secrets and some present secrets. There's obviously going to be a little bit of both. It says this group has kept each other's secrets for so long, and I imagine it's all going to spiral wildly out of control as tensions start to build. over the course of this not so fun GNO that they are having. So that's a long weekend. So the last book I have is The Resting Place by Camilla Sten, and I am so excited for this. I obviously have an arc of it. I haven't read it yet, but I'm going to. And she wrote The Lost Village, which I read towards the end of last year, and I really enjoyed it. And that has like Blair Witchy, documentary film crew, past and present mystery, is it ghosty, is it not, thriller, horror, kind of dancing the line, all of it. And I totally enjoyed it. I loved the writing. I loved the character development in that, very character heavy, but like in a good way. And I'm expecting a lot of the same in this one. So in this one we have a woman named Eleanor, and she suffers from face blindness. So if you guys read Rock, Paper, Scissors, same thing that the husband in that book suffered from. But in this one, Eleanor walked in on the scene of her grandmother's murder, and she came face to face with the killer, but she can't recognize anybody. So she saw the killer saw her, but she doesn't know who the killer is because she can't see faces. So understandably, with each passing day, Eleanor's anxiety mounts. The dark feelings of having brushed by a murderer and not being able to identify him consumes her, thwarting her perception of reality. Then she gets a call from her lawyer. So her grandmother has left her a looming estate tucked away in the Swedish woods. It's the place where her grandfather died, a place that has housed a dark past for more than 50 years. And you're like, don't go, Eleanor, don't go. She goes, of course she goes. A place Eleanor, her steadfast boyfriend Sebastian, her reckless aunt Veronica, and the lawyer will all go to uncover the truth. But the closer they get, the more they wish they had never come to disturb what rests there. So it says, do not disturb the restless. It compares it to the sanatorium with an eerie atmosphere, which you guys know I loved, deep-rooted secrets, twisted family history, and a house that won't let you go. So I am very excited for this one. Like I said, I very much enjoyed her characters and the development of the characters in The Lost Village. I thought they were so well done. We really got to know them. It definitely had spooky, creepy, kind of thrillery-esque vibes, but you also really got to know the characters, and I at least really connected with them and was very attached to them in a way that I don't always get with thrillers. But I felt they were really well done. They were just very three-dimensional, and we got to learn so much about them, and really, I was just so connected to so many characters in that book. So I'm excited for this one. I'm also really interested. I don't think I've ever read a book that had face blindness in it before, but I'm curious to see how it's done in this book. And this goes to that whole, like the plot in Kill Your Darlings, where books with similar ideas come out at the same time, which is always a little bit strange, kind of like Hostage and Falling came out at the same time. But I'll be curious to see how the face blindness is portrayed in this and how it's handled and how it's, I don't want to say like used in the story, but how the story utilizes it and how flippin' creepy. Like she saw the killer, but she can't recognize the killer. I also, even though it wasn't face blindness, there was absolutely a Murder, She Wrote episode, and Cynthia Nixon was the person in it. And she like saw the murder, but she blocked it out because of the trauma. And for whatever reason, that's in my head right now. I don't think this is going to be like Murder, She Wrote, but there you go. Oh gosh, so that's going to do it for just a handful of books that are coming out in March. But let me know if any of these are on your list, what I've missed, what you're most looking forward to. Have you pre-ordered anything? I still need to make a video of the pre-orders I've done because my pre-order game is out of control up to this point, and going forward, the list keeps coming. You guys, sneak preview if you've made it this long into the video. Frederick Bachman, book number 3 in the Beartown series, The Winners, is coming out in October. Done. Riley Sager's new book, he is doing the pre-order personalized autograph copies from Murder by the Book. You bet I'm doing that. Taylor Jenkins Reid, Carrie Soto is Back is coming out this summer. Jennifer Hillier, Little Secret? No, not Little Secrets. Things We Do in the Dark. Stay tuned for something more on that one too. So if you made it this far, thanks for watching. And as always, thank you guys so much for hanging out, being here, spending even a fraction of your day with me. I really appreciate it, and I love doing this, and I'm having a good time with it. And I'm sorry I missed Thursday's video. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm working on being a little bit more organized, but life is just life right now. So all good, all good. But thank you guys for being here. I will see you guys really soon in another video. Take care, everybody.